Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I'm Jaime Tardy, and I'm really excited to have my friend Jason Hartman on the show. He is a serial entrepreneur. He has a bunch of companies. One of them is called Platinum Properties Investor Network. He did a ton in real estate investing, but he also has Hartman Media Company and a foundation also, which helps other people. I'm so excited to have him on the show. He's been podcasting way before me, and we're going to talk about what that's like. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Jason.
Hey, thanks, Jamie. It's great to be here.
It was so awesome to actually meet you in person. We knew that this interview was going to come out, and then I got to meet you in person. So you got a real picture of me and you in person.
In Dallas. Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. So why don't you give us sort of the rundown story so we understand how you got into real estate and then how you're doing what you're doing now?
Sure. I'll try and make this quick because it can be as long as you want. Okay.
I'll stop you. Don't worry.
But basically, I grew up kind of poor and really by about ninth grade realized that money was something. It's not everything, but it is something, and it is important. And I saw a real estate infomercial at the ripe old age of 16, and I went and got the author's book and read 3 chapters, put it down. Just typical high school kid. I didn't follow up on stuff. And my mom picked it up and she started reading it. And then about 2 years later, I was 18 years old, about to graduate from high school, and my mom says, Jason, you got me into this real estate thing. I've been going to these seminars the last couple of years, and now there's one in Anaheim, California. We lived in Long Beach, California at the time, and it's by Disneyland, and why don't you come this weekend and see what it's all about? And so I went. I rounded up 9 of my friends from high school, because you can't do anything alone at that age.
Were they excited? Yeah. Woo, we get to go to a real estate seminar.
I don't know, maybe not. And they all went with me Friday night. By Saturday morning, only one was left. Everybody else went to the beach. And by Sunday afternoon, I finished the whole weekend. I was the only one that finished the whole weekend. And so got my real estate license my first year of college, started selling real estate part-time when I was going to school, when I was going to college. And then I bought my first investment property about 6 months after I got my real estate license. I actually bought it from a client because he didn't like the property. He wanted to sell it. And instead of selling it for him, I decided to buy it from him. Wow. And that was the start of lots of real estate investing. So that's the story.
How hard is it to make that decision to buy something on your own, especially when you were that young? Because if you're a real estate agent, that's different. But then you're buying one for yourself. And what if it doesn't work and all that fun stuff?
Right. Well, there's always those, that fear that creeps in and makes us scared. Fear. A lot of people say it's false education appearing real or false evidence appearing real. And the people who make it in life, they take risk. I'm sure you, when you do your great coaching with clients, you tell people, take a risk. You got to take a risk and get out and do something. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So got to jump in and do it.
Nice. Were you young enough to not realize how scary it was, or was it scary at the time?
Yeah, maybe, I wasn't too scared of it. Granted, when you are young, you kind of feel like you're bulletproof and you don't have much to lose, what did I have to lose, right? It wasn't much. And when we get older, we tend to get a little more conservative. And so I don't know. I did it, and I purchased many, many properties since then. And now I've got a big real estate portfolio, and I love income property. It's a fantastic investment. But I also love the business side of real estate. And that's actually how I ultimately got into podcasting.
That's awesome. So tell me how far you came in investing, because it sounds like you started and you're like, okay, and then you chug along and you figure out how to do this investing thing, and it's cool, and then you can teach other people. But what was the sort of end point of going, okay, this is my investment portfolio, I'm doing it, I know what I'm doing, I think I can teach other people? Where was that point?
Well, I guess it's kind of gradual. I was in the traditional real estate business for many years. I bought a traditional real estate company in Irvine, California, and that's in Orange County, and turned it around, sold it to Coldwell Banker 8 years later. Nice. And about a year before that deal closed, it took a long time to negotiate that deal, about a year actually. I decided I wanted to get back to my first love, the thing that got me into the real estate business in the first place, and that was working with investors. And I knew I'd have a big capital gain and a big check from the sale of the company. And I started looking around and thinking about, how am I going to invest this money? What am I going to do? Should I just retire? And, I love working. I absolutely do not think retirement is a good idea for anybody. I think we've always got to be engaged. We've always got to be challenged by something and interested in something. And, people, regardless of age, when they retire, they tend to not live very long because they kind of don't have a purpose, And so I decided to start this investment company, and I kind of modeled that after Wall Street, the stock market. I call Wall Street the modern version of organized crime. I don't like Wall Street at all. But, they do have kind of a good business model in terms of the way they sell their crappy products. And not that I have an opinion about this.
I know. I like it. Keep going.
Yeah. How many people do you know who ever got rich off of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds who weren't insiders? The insiders get rich, but none of the other people do.
Yeah.
And so I kind of set up a financial services company for real estate investors where we could offer people properties nationwide. We were area agnostic, so if they wanted to invest in, in Georgia, Florida, Texas, any other place, we could help them do that. And we'd research markets and then set up arrangements with providers of properties in those markets that we could refer investors to. And so I started that company in 2004, sold the other one in 2005. A lot of people say my timing was perfect because that was kind of the end of the great real estate market. And I've been working with investors only ever since. And in 2007, or really about 2006, I heard Leo Laporte. We all know in the world of podcasting who Leo Laporte is. And I heard him on talk radio. I used to listen to his show every Saturday, and I was driving around Newport Beach, and someone called into Leo Laporte and asked a question about something that I had never heard of, Jamie, and that was podcasting.
In 2007?
2006, actually.
2006.
Yeah, because I started my show in 2007. Wow. And it was initially I had a terrestrial radio show on a Los Angeles radio station called KRLA. And I thought, podcasting, what is that all about? And, I kind of thought about that for a few months, and I was really interested. And I remember a guy who you probably know, Jason Van Orden, wrote a book on podcasting.
Very good friend of mine.
And I actually hired him as a consultant to help me start my podcast in 2007. Wow. And started my first show, which is called The Creating Wealth Show. And it's been a great run. Just published the other day, episode number 420 of that show. And so that's been running for 7 years. And in about 2009, I started a bunch of other shows. Now I have 20 different shows that the Hartman Media Company publishes. And podcasting is great. So that's how I got into it, through real estate. Yeah.
That's insane. That's such a long time ago. It's so funny because in reality, 7 years is not all that long for a business in general. But in podcasting, I know. Oh my gosh, it existed back then.
I know. I'm like a podcast dinosaur.
You are. You totally are. I'll call you. No. They called me the grandmother. This is not. No, I'm definitely not the grandmother in this. Definitely. So,
but when they mean it like that, for you, you are kind of the grandmother in some ways. You're too young to be a grandmother. I understand that.
Thank you.
But you are the founder of a few things in our industry. So
I know, right? Totally. I'm the mom. Good. No,
you're mom. Yeah, you're the den mom. How's that?
That's awesome. I love that. What's interesting though is, did you know when you put it out there back in 2007? I mean, the listenership wasn't what it is today anyway. It was a pain in the butt. I mean, I started listening to podcasts as much as I could in 2007, but trying to actually get them and subscribe and stuff was a pain in the butt. So when you first started, do you actually get a bunch of listeners, and were you like, yes, listeners?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right about what you're saying about. People didn't even know what a podcast was back then. I remember I would do live seminars and I would ask the audience to, raise your hand. How many in here know what a podcast is? And, I'd get a couple hands go up and they were listening to my podcast, but the rest of the room didn't know what it was. And I'll tell you something interesting about that, by the way, how we got people to our live seminars back then through advertising and how podcasting has replaced that. But so not many people, and the listenership was smaller. Not many people knew what a podcast was back then. However, there was a lot less competition. There were a lot
Yeah.
fewer podcasts. Now it's like everybody's got a podcast, right? So,
Or
it's
starting their own because they're like,
yeah,
oh, this is the hot new thing. I should go do that.
yeah. So there's always a counterbalance to everything in life, right? So,
Yeah.
there's more demand now, but there's also more supply.
So tell me this too, because the people that are listening. Hey, I just want to say one quick thing. We had some issues with YouTube and apparently our account got flagged. I guess there was some swearing in a couple interviews that we had that we didn't actually hit as explicit. So unfortunately, the long interviews will not be able to be on YouTube anymore. What we'll be doing is we'll be putting in the first 10 or 15 minutes of each interview here and then linking you back to the site so you can go check it out there. Don't worry, they'll still come out, just won't be on YouTube for a little while. Just wanted to let you know. Thanks.